Gentlemen, hello. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. I'm so happy to be here with you today. It is election day, ladies and gentlemen. It is election day 2024. And can you believe it? It is here. We've been talking about today all year long. All right, we've been talking about this day all year long, and now here we are, Election Day 2024, and so welcome. Welcome to today's special episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live, and thank you, thank you for tuning in. The Empowered Immigrant Live, of course, is where we train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. And my name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. Today, our theme, our topic, of course, is regarding the election because it is Election Day of 2024. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about it? You nervous? There's like energy in the air. Everybody's wondering what is going to happen. What does the future hold? For me, Election Day is always a little bit exciting. We always, exciting and terrifying all at the same time. We're going to see what happens. So, the news, yes, it's Election Day, and so that's the big news, and I'll be watching that as the day progresses. Nobody has a clue. Nobody knows what's the result of today's election yet, and nobody will for some time, so we're not going to, that's not a surprise. Other news happening that you got to have on your mind, on your radar, in the world of immigration law. The new parole in place program, right? Keeping families together parole in place program is paused right now, but it's supposed to receive a response from the federal court in Texas on the 8th, which today is the 5th. So that's in 3 days, folks. And so when we have that result, we're going to, announce that, of course, and we want to share and give those updates. If you're interested in learning the results of that, please follow our channel, continue coming back. So now, it's Election Day 2024. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Let's talk about the election. So, how are you feeling about it? Let me know in your comments. Lou Bebe, hello, thank you. I see you're here. You say, if Donald wins, immigrants are cooked. Thank you for sharing that. So let me give you my take. If Trump wins, we will have more anti-immigrant rhetoric and policies for the next 4 years. Okay, possible travel bans, stricter immigration enforcement, stricter immigration detention also, more deportations, etc. And there's just going to be more denials and stricter reading of the way immigration laws get enforced. All right? Versus if Kamala wins, in theory, we'll have more humane policies. She's still a prosecutor, right? She's not just like, hey, nobody's running. If I were running for president, I'd be running on the platform that immigrants are awesome, right? Which I believe, right? I believe immigrants are an enormous contribution to our society. And so, but no candidate is running on that campaign, right? There's no immigrants are awesome. Let's welcome immigrants. Let's welcome our neighbors. Let's make the United States a welcoming country. Let's change immigration law to make, to make it more easy to immigrate to the U.S. No candidate is running on that platform. If I were running, no one would vote for me, right? Well, maybe a few people would, right? But it's that's my own philosophy. That's the way I view it, right? I think that immigrants are an enormous contribution to our society. I think our society would, um, uh, uh, it's not that it wouldn't exist without immigrants, but it would be incredibly different, right? And so it's like I think that immigrants just like make the world go round, right? I think there's more immigrants in the world today than there has ever been, and I think it's only increasing. And I think we ought to welcome that, not shun it, right? Not criticize it. We should actually have this be a place that opens our mind to the ideas that come into our country from the contribution of immigrants, right? But that's just me, right? That's just me. And if you're watching this, thank you for tuning in. Hey, you got my political beliefs there, and so thank you. And anyway, if Kamala wins, she is not that, right? She is not. Let's open the country and welcome immigrants from all parts of the world, right? She is a prosecutor. She will prosecute crimes, and she will prosecute immigration violations based on what she has said. She will likely still have immigration enforcement, probably higher than there has been under the Biden administration, probably more immigration detention than we've seen under the Biden administration. But she will have far more humane immigration policies than Trump would. All right, so given the two candidates, Kamala is like way better for immigrants than Donald is, and so Kamala, of course, is who I have voted for, and that's my own politics this morning. So welcome, thank you for tuning in. If you're a U.S. citizen and you have not voted yet, I very much encourage you to vote. All right. And if you're a U.S. citizen who cares about immigration law and who cares about immigrants and who cares about, the future of our society as a country that recognizes the value of immigrants, then I really encourage you to be cautious about who you vote for, and let's shake things up this election. We can have the first woman president. That would be amazing. Right? That'd be amazing for the future. Like I would love for my daughter to grow up in a country that has a woman president. All right, and for lots of other reasons as well. It'd be really exciting, I think, if Kamala were to win this election, and it'd be really sad from my perspective if Trump were to win this election. Yes, it's another first. We would have a first-time felon, first-time impeached former president to re-win the White House. But are those good things? I can't. For me, not. No. Right? No. Anyway. And who's winning right now as we're talking it through? Well, nobody knows, right? Pay attention to all the different news channels, A.P.C, Associated Press, NPR, Fox News, whatever news channel of your choice. They will all be monitoring this. If you look at them right now, I've got the Associated Press up right behind my screen. If you look at them right now, they'll show images of people casting their ballots and stuff. It's a pretty quiet day out there, really. It's happening. And so we're going to see how the day progresses. Polls don't officially close anywhere until 7 p.m. tonight. And in some counties, we've seen that there's been an extension up to 10 p.m. tonight to vote live in person today. So people, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people will be voting today. The votes will be counted. And then, and you know how it works, right? It's the Electoral College system, which is an old, outdated, problematic, in my opinion, system. But what it does is it allocates certain, delegates certain quantities of votes per state. So each state has a certain number of electoral votes that they get to contribute to the federal election. And so, and so that's why certain states are known as like the key battleground states. Pennsylvania is one of the most watched states right now. Um, I've got a friend of mine in Pennsylvania right now, like going door to door, making those phone calls, like trying to uh, uh, really explain what's at stake for immigration law there on the ground in Pennsylvania. So I'm excited to hear how he's doing with this whole campaign. Anyway, this is what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in right now. Engage with me. Are there any U.S. citizens on here who have voted? Um, and are there any? I've got people like my whole office is like nervous, right? We're all like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? It's gonna affect our job, right? It's gonna affect our what we do and how we do it and the advice we give. And there's so much, like, we're immigration lawyers, right? So it's like we're watching today. My goal for you, if you're watching this, if you're an immigrant in the United States, my goal for you is that regardless of who wins this election, that you have a solid plan, a solid strategy, a solution, steps in place to help you achieve whatever goal you have related to your immigration law. Like, my goal for you is to help you achieve success in your life through your immigration goals. Okay? And so, it doesn't really matter if we do that through a U visa or asylum or VAWA or citizenship or requesting your record. Like, it doesn't matter so much what the legal mechanism is to help you achieve that goal. Really, the goal is that you achieve success. All right? And that's what my firm is here to help you towards. And so whatever your immigration status is, we'd love to help you in any way that we can, support you in any way that we can to achieve that goal. And if your goal is, hey, I don't know if I'm eligible for anything right now, but I want a firm that has my back, regardless of which candidate wins, etc. Our firm is here to do that, ladies and gentlemen. And so it's like, if you are just like nervous about what might happen for the future, and if you want a firm that's got your back, that's reviewing the laws constantly, that's reviewing policy constantly, so that we can give you the best advice, tell you when, inform you when there's an opportunity that you could take advantage of. I mean, that's part of what our firm is here to do, right? It's also part of what these Empowered Immigrant Live sessions are here to do. And so if that matters to you, like, you're in the right place, thank you for following us, and thank you for, subscribing, liking, giving love to our content on the internet. All right? Really appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go live again later this afternoon. If you want to see that, tune in for it again. I'm going to switch gears here in just a moment, and we'll go live in Spanish. But basically, the election is happening. There's huge things at stake. I want you to be aware of it. And feel free to follow our content, and we'll give you updates as I get them. My empowerment tip today, which I always like to give an empowerment tip, my tip is don't let politics get you down, all right? Overall, democracy is a good thing, all right? That's my opinion, at least. Overall, democracy is a good thing. Overall, government, by and large, is a good thing, in my opinion, which, of course, means that, like, overall taxes, paying taxes, by and large, is a good thing, ladies and gentlemen, all right? Laws, by and large, are a good thing for the human progress, all right? And that's even though we might disagree with some of those laws. Like, for me, I'm an immigration lawyer, and I do not agree with immigration laws as they currently stand. Like, I do not like our current immigration legal system. All right? I disagree with many of the laws that I come into contact with every single day. Yet, I believe that overall the system is better because we are a nation of laws. Okay? I just wish that the laws were actually better. And we should fight. I believe that we should fight and argue through words, through argument and debate to make the laws more fair, more just, more logical, to improve our society towards our values. Okay? Like, that's what this is all about. That's what this election day is all about. Hopefully, at least. You know, electing someone who will enforce the laws more in line with our own values. All right? And we're going to see who wins that. Today, I'm nervous, to be honest. But we're going to see, you know. And if the candidate that's more in line with my values wins, I'm still going to push that candidate to become even more in line with my values, because neither of the candidates are very aligned with my own personal values. And that's true for everybody, right? Arguably, that's true for everybody. And so it's like, have your own values and think about what your own values are, so that when you participate in your community and your society and you know, engage with this democracy that we have, right? Then you can explain your own values and you know, try to encourage a candidate who is running who emulates those values to take the office or run for office or vote in alignment with those values. All right? And that's like basic, right? That's basic principles, basic government. Anyway, I wanted to share that today. That's like my own philosophy about all of this, right? And so I hope that's useful. I hope that's helpful. I hope it's reasonable. And I hope that the world right now takes a step back and understands the value and logic behind having a set of laws and a society that actually values democracy, values the debate, etc. Because it is valuable. All right, I think we can all learn from each other and learn from each other's contributions and including from each other's values. Anyway, that's all I got really for today, for at least right now. Oh, hey, I see some questions here. Laurie, I see your question. Hi, I have my appointment next week for a K-1 visa. Do you know what questions are in the interview? Well, thank you for asking that. That's a good question. So a K-1 visa, you know, this is a fiancé visa. And so they're going to ask you, you know, who's this guy, or who's this girl, who's this person that you're intending to marry? Do you really intend to marry them, right? It's not just for immigration purposes. You actually love this person. You want to form a life together. Do you know that you've got to marry this person within 90 days of your entry into the United States? Are you intending that you do that? All right. When was the last time you met in person? Theoretically, it should be sometime within the last 2 years. You know, and whether or not that person is a legal U.S. citizen, they'll want to see that documentation. Hopefully, all of that stuff was documented pretty well, so that your K-1 interview is pretty easy. All right. Every K-1 process that I have handled or that my team has handled, the K-1 interview was pretty easy. Pretty easy. It's a bigger deal once the K-1's approved and now you enter the U.S. and now you get married and now you got to apply for your adjustment of status and your green card. That green card interview, that's the one where they could separate your spouses. They could ask you a whole bunch more stuff. And so that's the one that requires a bit more higher level of preparation in my experience. I hope that that's your experience as well, and I hope that you have success in your interview. And congratulations on your upcoming marriage. That's awesome. So I see another question here. Travelets, is that right? Hello. How long does it take to normally receive a receipt after filing concurrently? I filed last week, I think it says. Receipt notices. So it's different for every type of case. All right, it's different for every type of case. And some cases we've seen that receipt notices are taking way longer than normal. Okay, and so, but typically I would say, hey, give it 60 to 90 days to see, to get the receipt notice and to really have it. It does go slightly faster if you're doing it with an online USCIS account. There are some case types that can be filed that way. Other case types cannot be filed that way. Typically, I don't like doing USCIS online filings, but the one benefit is you can typically get a receipt notice earlier. But yeah, anyway, that's my answer to that one. Okay. User 307, you say, how will USCIS find out about a false claim to citizenship on an I-9? Yikes. Yikes. There's risk. There's risk to that one. The most common way that USCIS finds out is they ask you everywhere that you've worked. They look at your taxes to see where have you gotten W-2s, where have you worked. And then they just ask you, hey, how'd you get that job? How'd you get that job? You didn't have a work permit. You didn't have legal authorization to work at that job. So how did you get that job? What did you say on your Form I-9? And then, and then if you say in your interview, oh, well, I checked, I don't remember what I checked, or I checked saying that I was a U.S. citizen, then boom, now in your interview is where it will come up, and now they'll say, well, sorry, we can't approve your case. You've got a permanent bar against you. There's no waiver for it. That's where the risks of falsely claiming U.S. citizenship come into play. Now, user, I see your point here. You had a work permit. Well, if you had a work permit, why on earth would you have checked a box saying that you were a U.S. citizen? Right? If you falsely claim citizenship while you have a work permit saying that you are an immigrant, then there wouldn't be a logical reason to do that unless it was just a mistake. And if it was just a mistake, hey, correct that mistake. Go to your HR department in your job or even to the former job and say, hey, look, there was an I-9 that I said that I checked the wrong box. Really, I was an immigrant. Here's my work permit. I should have checked that other box. That's so much better than having to worry about, gosh, am I going to have a permanent inadmissibility that's unwaivable that bars me for the rest of time from getting a green card? Like false claims to citizenship are one of the worst. All right? Talk about laws that need to change. That's one of the laws that needs to change because the consequences are so ridiculously harsh. Right? And it's a very, very common inadmissibility ground that just keeps people stuck in limbo forever. Right? It's pretty bad. Lori, I see you here on Instagram. Thank you. Will a change of status through marriage starting now be delayed depending on the outcome of the election? That's a good question. That's a good question. So imagine we file the case today, and then imagine one candidate wins or another candidate wins. Well, if one candidate wins, I think it'll be pretty much similar processing times that that we see right now. If the other candidate wins, when Trump won the first time around, processing times slowed way down, right? And it's hard to know, in fairness, it's hard to know if they were delayed just because of Trump or if they were also delayed in part because of the pandemic. But they started slowing way down even before the pandemic, just under Trump. And why was that? Well, there were a lot more rejections. There were a lot more just nitpicky, stupid stuff inside of USCIS. Like I remember under the first Trump administration having cases rejected because we didn't handwrite the words, this box is not applicable, NA, on boxes that clearly didn't apply. And they were rejecting it, saying that the thing hadn't been filled out completely, even though we had followed the instructions like to the T, right? Those types of like, there were nonsensical things. There were lawsuits against the Trump administration because of these types of rejections, right? It was just causing delays for no reason in cases, right? Which increases cost and I mean, it's just so much bureaucratic nonsense, right? So let me see here. User, I see your follow-up here. Wouldn't that be considered a no benefit and no purpose, like not for a lawful purpose? I understand your point, right? I understand your point. And you have an argument for that. But it'd be so much cleaner, right? It'd be so much cleaner to amend the HR record to begin with so that that record is fixed, right? So that you can say, no, I never even, like, it wasn't even willful, right? For a false claim citizenship to be a quote-unquote false claim to citizenship and cause inadmissibility, it's got to be a willful misrepresentation of your citizenship, all right? So if there was just a flat-out mistake, right, well, then correct it, fix it, change it, right? That's the best, in my opinion, that's the best advice, just seeing what you're saying here on TikTok. I haven't reviewed the records myself. I haven't seen the I-9 myself or the evidence that you had a work permit at the time that you checked that box, etc. You'd want to double check all that stuff. The best advice would be to double check all that stuff with a lawyer who knows what they're doing so that you can navigate it well. And in my office, when I've had clients in that situation, I write the letter on behalf of my clients, send it to their HR saying, hey, we need to please amend the I-9 that's on file in your case, and here's what we should have said, and here's why, right? And then we have a record of the date that we sent that request, and we can include it in the case or not, right? So there you go. That's that. Miguel 6. Okay, user, you're saying I called them and they said I can't retract it. No, have a letter coming from a lawyer. They must retract it. All right, they must amend it, right? So get more assertive with it. Miguel 6, I just received my work permit and social security number. How long do I have to wait for a green card? I just received my work permit and social security number. How long do I have to wait for a green card? Miguel 6, thank you for asking that question. I don't know what type of green card you've applied for. Is this a marriage-based case? You know? Because, and the reason it mattered, like if it's anyway, it could be a huge variance, is what I'm saying. Sometimes the social security number and the work permit will come maybe after 5 months or so after you've filed for your green card, but maybe your green card itself won't come for another year, right? Because, a year later, you finally get called into your interview, right? And then they ask you questions about it. Like you can apply for the work permit as a adjustment applicant, but that doesn't mean that they've approved your green card yet. Like they've got to still interview you and do the full process. And so you wanna be mindful of that. All right, it's a process. So Lua Bebe, I see you here. Can someone with a permanent bar apply for DV? DV. DV. Do you mean a diversity visa? Or I hear DV, I hear domestic violence, like a domestic violence case, restraining order. Lua Bebe, I want to answer your question, but please type out what you mean by the term DV. What are you referring to? All right? Don't say yes. Type out. What does DV stand for? I don't know. A diversity visa, maybe? If you have a permanent bar, no, you're permanently barred. So there's no visa. All right? A permanent bar is unwaivable. So no, you won't be eligible. Or a person in that situation would not be eligible. This is great, you guys. I love that you're asking questions. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that diversity lottery. Okay, I got it. So yes, the law says if you have a permanent bar, then you're not eligible for a visa, right? You're inadmissible. And so because of that, the diversity visa lottery, yeah, it won't work. All right, it won't work. U visas can still be gotten though, because U visas come with very powerful waivers. All right. So Alicia Ruezga, I see you here. Hello, buenos dias. Good to see you. I see you're just typed that right now in Spanish. I'm going to be doing this episode in Spanish in 7 minutes. All right. Let's see, Miguel 6. Okay, special immigrant juvenile based adjustment of status. Okay, very good. So in SIJS, special immigrant juvenile status cases, typically, my experience has been typically they don't need to interview you and they can be pretty quick, which means after your work permit, maybe it's just a few more months you should get your green card as long as everything was done correctly, etc. All right. So, user, I see your question there. I mean, employers aren't required to keep the I-9 up to 3 years, right? Well, are you employed there now? My best advice, user, for your situation is to really talk it through with your immigration attorney. Really talk it through. Like, I don't want to give you more advice than I've given you right now without really looking at it. Because false claims to citizenship cause serious risk, right, to your immigration case. So, just my, my initial reaction is do everything that you can to amend that record so that so that it's not a false claim to citizenship, so that the employer has it correct. Yep. All right, so Miguel, if I just received my work permit, oh yeah, I answered that one already. Awesome, very good. Hey, you guys, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for asking all of these questions. I really appreciate it. All right. Again, my name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And it's like, hey, if this was useful, if this was helpful, please thumbs up, heart, do give me some love in whatever platform you're watching, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. All right. And if my office can help you in any way with your immigration case, with your immigration questions, with whatever, we're just a phone call away. Everybody, we're here to help. We'd love to help. Election day is today. We are tracking the election. I'll be going live again this afternoon. We're not going to have any results realistically until after 7 p.m. Eastern, because that's when the first polls close, and then it'll go into the evening. Might not even be till tomorrow. With such a heated election, it might even take, who knows if they've got to do recounts, etc., before figuring out who is actually the winner, right? But there are certain states where it's so tight, and it could, one state might be all the difference between winning and losing for one of these candidates. All right. So, El Oscar, I see you here. So what if you've been out with voluntary removal and you come back to the States while waiting for the U visa? Did you come back legally or unlawfully? Can I wait for the visa here even if you came back illegally? Okay, so I see you there. All right. Good question, El Oscar. Thank you very much for asking it. It's possible. Let me hear it. Let me say it like this. It's possible to win a U visa even with various immigration violations. All right, it's possible. But you got to include all that stuff in your waiver that you submitted along with the U visa. A U visa that's pending does not give you immigration status. All right? A U visa that's pending does not give you immigration status, and U visas can be pending for 20 years. So you wouldn't have immigration status in the United States. But the U visa can waive. It has the power to waive several immigration violations. You just got to make sure that those things are requested in the waiver inside your case. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay? Otherwise, it will not waive all your inadmissibility grounds. You'll still be inadmissible. So you got to be mindful of that. That's all I got for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to switch gears, and I'll do the same episode in Spanish. So if you speak Spanish, feel free to join us in just a few minutes, and we'll go live in Spanish. In the meantime, thank you all so much for being here. Again, my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream, and I'll see you all next time, even later today if you want, on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. All right? And keep your fingers crossed. We're watching. We're watching this election. We're going to see what happens. It will be a game-changing election for the future of immigration laws. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate you. We'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.